That happens every year when I hear it. Thank you, Aaron. That has to be one of my favorite Christmas songs. As I was preparing for today, anticipating the lack of heat in this sanctuary, I contemplated long johns. I chose no. I also wondered, would I see my breath? So far, not. I also recalled in the past when we had to do church with no air conditioning and no electricity. I got to yell the lesson. I recalled doing a session in Paris in the middle of a heat wave, unprecedented, so hot that the Eiffel Tower was shut down to visitors. The facility that I was at was without air conditioning, and it was very, very uncomfortable. The plus side to that gig was that I got to wear shorts and a t-shirt in a professional setting. We survive these things. We rise to the occasion, yes? And so we are right in the middle of our Advent series entitled The Birth of Infinite Light, and looking at 4 commitments of the heart. For my Bible friends, what does the Bible tell us about Advent? Nothing. That was a trick question. The concept of Advent really didn't emerge until the 4th or 5th century and wasn't really solidified into the 4 traditional Sundays that we think of until the 9th century. And it originally had a flavor of repentance and seriousness, not about hope and anticipation. And so that has shifted. First Sunday of Advent is all about hope and faith, as you may recall if you're part of that. And that lesson explored the spiritual practice of choosing love over fear. Love over fear in a world with uncertainty, division, and anxiety. One of my favorite spiritual teachers is Marianne Williamson, who talks about from a Course in Miracles perspective that in our life experience, we have two choices in terms of where we respond from or how we respond. 2 choices, either fear or love. It's that simple. It's that simple. We can either respond from a place of fear or we can respond from a place of love. Fear, while it's a natural human emotion, can immobilize us, isolate us, and perpetuate the very energy that we are looking to shift and transform. Fear limits us, often leads us to disconnecting from joy, gratitude, and community. Choosing love calms fear and helps us to restore wholeness and resilience. Last week, the focus was on peace and the importance of listening to wisdom over rhetoric. And this is a spiritual practice. Underline that word, practice. It's about discerning wisdom amid a world saturated with noise, fear, and divisive rhetoric. Rhetoric is loud, emotional, and reactionary, often inflaming and polarizing folks. Tuning into rhetoric actually amps up the anxiety and disconnection from our higher selves. Wisdom, on the other hand, is quiet, calm, responsive, rooted in love and in clarity. Listening to wisdom requires stillness and spiritual practices such as silence, prayer, meditation. It could be as simple as pausing and taking a deep breath. In that moment, rather than reacting, we want to take that moment, take that breath, and respond rather than react. Today, focus, if you haven't gotten the message, all about love and the importance of speaking with kindness, only kindness. Love itself is described as, and I love this simple definition, the great harmonizer and healer. Love is the great harmonizer and healer. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of our movement, tells us that love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. And that love is an inner quality that sees only good everywhere and in everybody. Underline that, everybody. He also tells us that divine love is impersonal. It loves for the sake of loving. It is not concerned with what or who it loves, nor with the return of that love. The Dalai Lama teaches that love and compassion are inherent in our human nature. And he says that this makes perfect sense if you consider that we are created from love and in the image of the one supreme love that many call God. One could say that love, that central flame of our hearts, is part of our DNA. It's who we are. We need it. We give it. We thrive in it. We recognize it when we see it. And when we feel abandoned and bereft, or we do not feel loved, we sense that. And there's almost like this deep ache when love is missing. Thomas Merton says that we're made in the image of God is to say that love is the reason for my existence, for God is love. Love is my true identity. Selflessness is my true self. Love is my true character. Love is my name. Love is my name. I love how he tells us that our job is to love others without stopping to inquire and wonder whether they are worthy or not of that love. He says that's not our business. In fact, it's nobody's business. What we are asked to do is simply to love. And he says that this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors as worthy. All of this sounds just beautiful. And yet, how do we activate and extend love when we seem to live in a time when cruelty is often normalized, rage is glorified, and social media has replaced healthy dialogue and conversation? How do we practice loving kindness when we live in a world where immigrants and others are demonized simply for being who they are? A world where mass shootings and violence are oh so very common. I went to bed thinking about one mass shooting from yesterday, and I woke up this morning to learn of another one. We live in a world where seemingly only some belong and others do not. We live in a world where othering is rampant. And yes, I said othering. Dr. John Powell, in his book, Belonging Without Othering, talks about othering. And it describes it as the process of defining and treating a person or group as fundamentally different, inferior, or outside what is considered normal or us. It's in simple terms, this is how we versus them or us versus them gets established. Stereotyping and dehumanization are the outcomes of othering. The other is often reduced to stereotypes, fear, or negative traits rather than seeing that person or that set of people as human, fully human. Othering often reinforces social, political, and cultural power held by the dominant group. Think empire consciousness. Othering is the absolute opposite of recognizing our oneness and seeing the divine in all. Examples of othering include racism, xenophobia, homo or transphobia, as well as religious and political othering. We all do it. We all do it. And this matters because othering can lead to discrimination, exclusion, injustice, a loss of empathy, a loss of dialogue, as well as justification for violence or war. Sounding familiar? It's easy, even tempting, to mirror the anger and aggression and hatred and othering we see in our world with our own thoughts and our own words. When we look around, there is plenty to be angry about. Have you ever gotten caught up in any of that? It is easy to get caught up in that righteous rage. Righteous rage. And I think about righteous rage as anger that arises from a sense of moral injustice, that feeling that something is deeply wrong and must be confronted. It is anger tied to ethics or values, not personal ego. We experience it when witnessing oppression, abuse, violence, or systemic injustice. Richard Rohr tells us, if we stay with our rage and resentment too long, we will righteously and unthinkingly pass on the hurt in ever new directions. And we will injure our own souls in ways we don't even recognize. In other words, anger, when justified, must lead deeper into compassion and understanding rather than becoming solidified. To be crystal clear, we don't deny the facts. We don't deny the facts, but we don't let that anger take hold and become a permanent state of being. And yet, conscious spiritual living calls us to surrender anger and resentment and live from a higher consciousness and a more powerful place. This begins with intentional thoughts and words rooted in understanding, compassion, clarity, truth, and yes, kindness. We begin where we have the most ability to choose our thoughts and our words. Heard that before? In Unity, we teach that the spoken word, just like our thoughts, are powerful creative forces. It's not simply a reflection of thought, it is an extension of divine energy. Every word we speak carries vibration. Words can uplift or wound, unite or divide. Words become vessels for the consciousness behind them. Words are powerful. When we speak from love, we transmit healing. When we speak from fear or hate, we echo the pain of the world. Spiritual beings know our words are never neutral. Think about that. Our words are never neutral. When the world speaks in hatred, our souls need to stay centered. Right now, the collective volume is turned way up. We are surrounded by rage masquerading as power, mockery mistaken for intelligence, shouting mistaken for clarity. But when we mirror that energy, we become part of the storm. Hateful speech is seductive. It can feel like release or even justice. But hate speech, anything that's lacking in kindness, pulls us out of spiritual alignment. Thoughts or words. It costs us inner peace, drains our vitality, and perpetuates a cycle of harm. Kindness, listen to this, kindness is not a performance. It is a form of spiritual resistance. Kindness is a form of spiritual resistance. Kindness is often misunderstood and thought of as weakness, but true kindness is not passive. It is powerful, active, awake, and brave. Kindness requires a softened heart in a hard world. Conscious restraint when retaliation would be much easier. Compassionate truth-telling instead of pleasing or remaining silent. Note, we still speak our truth. We still speak our truth, but we can do so with kindness and with compassion. In the realm of spirit, kindness is not an emotion. It is a vibrational field we choose to enter. It says, I will not let the world turn me cruel. I will stay rooted in love. There are 3 questions to anchor our speech within. And these questions help bring the sacred into our speech before we even utter a word. And especially before a difficult conversation with a colleague or a spouse or someone important to you, it's important to take a moment to stand in this space of looking at these anchors. The first one is, what energy do I want my words to carry? What energy do I want my words to carry? Are my words medicine or are they poison? Will these words elevate or inflame? Am I speaking from reaction or from intention? Second anchor is, who am I becoming as I speak? Is my speech, is what I'm saying aligned with my higher self? Third is, what impact do I want to leave behind? Do I want my words to echo in someone's heart as comfort or as shame? Will I regret this, or will I know I said my truth with grace? There are practices that can bring us back or help bring us back to compassion, peace, and kindness. Spiritual maturity is not about ignoring the facts or avoiding conflict. It's about how we show up when these challenges arise. And I promise you, they will continue to arise. Practices include pausing before speaking or pushing send. The pause is where we can better access spirit. Breathing into our heart center and centering ourselves in the energy of love. Speak your truth. Yes, speak your truth, yet wrap it in compassion. Remember, our words become our legacy. Our words become our legacy. We may forget what someone said to us 10 years ago, the specifics, but we will never forget how their words made us feel then. In addition, each word we speak adds to the collective. What kind of world are we building with our words? Let us be spiritual architects, constructing bridges of dignity, empathy, and fierce, loving truth. We affirm, I can speak truth with kindness even when the world speaks in anger. Even when the world speaks in anger. In closing, I'm offering this assignment for you. This week, when tempted to speak from anger or judgment, remind yourself to pause and take that deep breath. Take that deep breath and ask yourself, what would love do here? What would love do here? What would kindness do here? For extra credit, I have an additional assignment. I shared this last year and believe it bears repeating. Your assignment, if you so choose, is to review and revamp your Christmas to-do list. Here's how. First, rather than getting caught up in hype consumerism and materialism of buying presents, be present. Be present. Be present to your own feelings and make sure to honor them, along with taking time to be present to the silence. Be present to the areas in your life where healing or forgiveness may be called for, and then take action. Especially be present to your loved ones when you are with them. Be present to the humanity all around you and the hopes, the dreams, the heartaches that are ever present. Be present. Be present to the beauty of nature, even in spite of the bitter cold. There's a beauty. There's beauty. Number two, since you'll be likely buying less presents because you're more focused on the gift of being present, you'll have less time, or you'll have less gifts to wrap. And so with that extra time and energy, I suggest you wrap your loved ones in words, kind words and appreciation, affection and kindness. Wrap strangers in compassion in the cloak of our common humanity. And wrap our world in thoughts and prayers in a vision of peace. The gift Number 3, spend more time and less money. The gift of time and creating unforgettable memories with those we love is priceless. Spend time with yourself in prayer and meditation. Spend time in service to others. Spend time away from technology and meaningless distractions. In our human experience, time has a limited gift, so use it wisely. And then finally, rather than simply viewing and enjoying all the lights and beauty of this season, I invite you to be that Christ light. Be that love and kindness in action. And remember, just like the birth of Jesus that we will soon celebrate, you too are the Christ. You too are the light of the world. And so it is.